Welcome to a demonstration of the 360 Forward 360 Cloud solution. My name's Paul Kaye. I'm a director of QuiqSolutions. We're a software company who have jointly developed the 360 Cloud solution with 360 Forward using their 360 standard framework and our online compliance tool, a product called QuiqCare. I'd like to take you on a demonstration of the system, a system really designed to achieve excellence in person-centered care. Without further ado, I'm now going to take you through a demonstration of the 360 Cloud. The 360 Cloud system is an online system. Depending who you are in an organization, you can log in with a username and password that will give you a level of access that reflects your role within the organization. In this case, I'm going to log in as Connie, and if you can imagine, Connie would be a member of staff within a care organization, perhaps a manager of a care home. And you'll see when Connie logs into the system, it's really divided up into two sides. On the left-hand side are the standards from the 360 standard framework. And you can expand all of those by clicking on this button, and it will reveal each of the resident, staff, and relative and management standards that form the 360 standard framework. On the right-hand side, there will be activities based around normally evidence and action plans, which will be derived from the system as evidence is entered. So effectively what this system enables a user to do is to either self-assess, in the case of Connie, the compliance against the 360 standards, or potentially with an external inspection for somebody to externally assess and comment on the compliance against the standard. In this case, I will show you how Connie may use the system. And the way it works is that you click on the standard heading and it reveals a number of key headline outcomes. If I click on Resident Standard 4, for example, you'll see that underneath the headline, which is meeting spiritual and religious needs, there are a number of additional outcomes. And each of these outcomes are supported by additional processes which are shown on the right-hand side. So the outcome, if you like, is the end result which in this case the care home is trying to achieve, and the process is the building blocks, if you like, that must be in place for this particular service to meet the requirements of that outcome. And simply the system to start with is about putting evidence in to show how the needs of this outcome and the process are being met. So to add evidence, I select it by clicking this button here and click Evidence. This takes me to the evidence entry screen, and from here I can add evidence to show what we're doing to become compliant with this particular outcome and process. To help me, there is a structure, and the structure is really a description of what good care would look like, and is supplied to support the various processes and outcomes within the whole system. So in this case, this structure is telling me that there need to be learning programs in place for staff to make sure that they are meeting the needs of the spiritual needs of the residents. And at this point, I would be expected to put some evidence in to show how we were meeting this structure. So perhaps we have learning processes in place, and to evidence that, perhaps somebody might like to see the training records that show all staff who have completed this. To make the evidence more meaningful, some real examples of how, by having that learning in place, they've been able to make a difference to the residents receiving care, may be a good idea. So you might say, Mrs. Singh requested time for meditation rather, and this was allowed for in her care plan after further discussion. I apologise for my typing. I'll just use the spell checking to resolve that issue. And also perhaps how you're going to continue to to receive feedback on this and to make sure that you remain compliant with this particular structure and process, we will continually seek the views residents and relatives to ensure their spiritual needs are being met. So you can put as much or as little information, but as much as you probably need to prove that your particular service, in your eyes, is meeting the requirements of the outcome and the process here. To support the evidence that you put in, you may have a policy or procedure. So if you have a policy or procedure that supports your evidence, you can attach it, and if somebody wants to view the policy, whether it be yourself or somebody else, they can click on it and it will open that policy, procedure, or any other supporting document up so somebody can inspect and review that document. You can also attach any other form of electronic evidence. So you may have a testimony, a feedback form, something that you think supports the evidence that you've put in. And by attaching that, you're again basically saying, here is further evidence that we are doing what we say we're doing, and by uploading it, you're making it available for anybody who has access to the system to see, potentially other people internally or maybe external people who are assessing the quality of the services that you provide. So once that information has uploaded, and obviously depending on the size of the file, that will take either a short time or a slightly longer time to upload, you save your evidence, and the system will prompt you to say how long you want that evidence to be valid for and who owns the evidence. So by selecting a valid to date, you're telling the system we want to review that evidence, in this case in 12 months' time. By selecting an owner for that evidence, you then are basically saying it's myself or potentially somebody else who is going to be reviewing that evidence, and you can get the system to remind that particular person when that's due for review. So it will generate an email, in this case to Connie, and when Connie logs in, her activities will be shown on the home page as they become due. So in this case, Connie has saved the evidence, and she would be expected to self-assess how she thinks she is complying with this particular outcome. She can click red, which would indicate a high risk for non-compliance. Amber is a moderate risk, yellow is a low risk, or green would be compliant. And if she's anything other than compliant, there would be expected to be an action plan in place to show what you're doing to become compliant. So really the system is made up of two halves, the evidence in and then creating action plans to show what you're doing. But if you've put your evidence in and you've self-assessed against the various standards, eventually you will get a picture where across all of the standards you will be able to see where, certainly the views of the people on the site, in this case Connie and her colleagues, this is the current situation where we're compliant against various standards which are green, and then we have levels of non-compliance based on the colours that have been put in. And by clicking on this site status tab, you can see a quick summary of all those standards where you are or aren't compliant. In fact, you can take it further and run reports which will show where you're compliant today across all of the standards. Anything grey is where you're yet to put evidence in, or over a period of time you can run reports which show a progression over a period of days, weeks or months that you may have been using the system. Let's run this one here over 12 weeks rather, and it will show where you've gone. You can copy and paste these images and use them in further management reports, or maybe working with commissioners or other groups who are interested in your compliance. You'll see on the right hand side where it shows my activities, or in this case the activities of Connie. As things become due for review, these magnifying glasses signify that there is evidence, it has the expiry date, and you can see it's within its review period. if you want to update your evidence, you click on it, you're taken straight there, and you can then say if you want it to be valid for a longer time or make changes to the evidence if you need to. And once you're happy, you save that, and it then will remind the owner of that evidence in a further 12 months' time. So the system will ensure that you are hopefully always up to date with the evidence, and provided this list of activities doesn't get too long, the user should always be on top of things and have an up-to-date and current compliance position for their particular service against each of these standards. Where a service is not compliant, perhaps where there's been some evidence put in to say that there is a problem in meeting one of the standards and one of the outcomes, then the user should create an action plan. So for example, somebody has put some evidence in here against this standard to show that they are yellow in the eyes of the person putting the evidence in, i.e. they're not completely compliant, there's a minor risk of non-compliance. And perhaps they need to review all activities to offer the range of activities that service users would like. So what I'm going to do here is detail what we're doing about that by creating an action plan. The action plan knows where I am in the system, so it knows that we have this outcome to reach, and it knows that these are the processes we're trying to demonstrate we're compliant with. And let's say, in this case, we're going to have a plan to increase activities. I can involve other people in the plan, and they will all be emailed when the plan is created to ask for their acceptance, or otherwise they can reject the plan and give reasons for rejection. But in this case, I'm just going to create a plan for Connie. I'm going to set a deadline date for the end of March, and I'd like to be reminded, or Connie in this case to be reminded, perhaps the week before, and the system will email her on this date to remind her to review the plan. She would then be expected to detail what she's going to do to meet the plan, and it has a SMART template: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timescale. So perhaps Connie will put some details of what she's going to do. In this case, offer to increase activities. How is she going to do it? Perhaps she will survey the residents and relatives to get some ideas on more activities. What resources she'll nominate a member of staff to become activity coordinator. This will improve the quality of life for residents. I'm being very brief here. And how will she check that the action plan is working? We will seek feedback. And when the action plan is complete and ready to go, she can press complete. And if she's happy that the plan is ready to go live, by pressing implement, it will update the whole of the system to say there is an action plan in place. So if I now go back to this particular standard, you'll see a tick has appeared to say there is now an action plan against this prompt. Click on the tick, it will list the plan together with any historical plans that may have been in place against that particular prompt. And you can go to the plan. If you want, you can print a copy of the plan. It has a printer-friendly version. You could also create a PDF version and email it to somebody if you want. So we're now at a position where we have evidence, we have action plans, we've got control of the situation, if you like. And we know where we're at, we know what we're doing, where we need further efforts. There is also a results document which you can print at any time, which will summarize all of the evidence and show where there are action plans, such as the one I just entered, in a printer-friendly document that can be, again, printed on paper or created in PDF or saved for future reference. And this system is current, so you can run those reports at any time to review your current compliance. Against every standard, the service can attach the policies or procedures which they feel support that particular standard, and there is a policy management application which comes with it, which I'll give you a preview of shortly, that enables you to organize and categorize your policies and procedures or any other supporting document. There is also a full online reading list that comes with the system, where important documents can be accessed online and without the need for Googling. There are also links to multiple websites or other information that becomes available, such as information from people like CQC. Again, to access any of these documents, you click on the link in the system and it'll take you through directly to that particular document. So going back to my home screen, what I have now is an instant view of where, from my point of view, the system is, the service is compliant or otherwise. The evidence, which is represented by these magnifying glasses, can be accessed by clicking on them. It will list the evidence. I can then click again to actually open the evidence. There's the evidence entry box where I can update the evidence or add new evidence if I wish to. So it's an ongoing compliance tool, if you like, that ensures I'm up to date with things. A little while ago I mentioned the document management system, something we call Policy Manager. If you decide to put your policies and procedures onto the system, they can be loaded and organized in categories. So we've got various categories here. You can create as many categories as you like. You can also create as many document types as you like, and each document type could be a policy, a procedure, a form. And if you choose to store these documents online, they can be shared with all other users within the home. There can be a simple access to just the policies and procedures if you want that for your staff members. You can also click and open the document to review it, print it, whatever you want to do. This is also a very powerful team for people running groups of care, powerful system rather, for people running groups of care homes, because you can centrally manage the master set of documents for each of the homes in your group, and make sure they're up to date. And if necessary, local services can add their own documents or tailor them and mix and match with the master sets as they see fit. It's also possible to filter, so it will show all of the documents that are relevant for a particular standard. You can obviously create indexes of documents and tell the system which standards they're relevant for. And if there is a group of documents you want to download, you can select all of the documents and download them, take them offline, if you like, off the cloud. You'll create a folder on your desktop where you can then review all of those documents at your leisure. There is also within this document management system something called the Event Builder, which enables you to specify the documents which apply when a certain event happens. So in this example, let's say we have a new employee and somebody has chosen to store their HR documents on the system. You can tell the system that the documents that need to be used when there is a new employee, in this case, are these ones here. Again, if you want to, you can select all and download those documents, or you can open them one by one if you wish to review those documents or print them individually for this particular employee. Here's an example of the staff information booklet. So it's got a powerful sort of personal management element to it with the action plans and the evidence, and a more sort of systematic approach with the policy manager, making sure that documentation is kept up to date. And in the same way that you can have dates against the evidence and action plans, you can also put dates against the documents, and the system will email a reminder to the owner of the document to review it at a certain time. So very briefly, that is the major point of the or the major elements of the 360 cloud system. What I'm going to do now is log in to show you a higher level view of the 360 cloud. And I've logged in as Phil, and imagine Phil would be in charge of a number of different homes. So he could be a regional manager, or he could be somebody at head office who needs to see the system working for all of their different services. You can also set action plans across all of the different services in your region. You can see here Phil could create an action plan for people within each of the locations within their group, and this is entirely scalable. So you could have multiple regions, multiple service types, all within a single system, and a head office access perhaps, where you can have reports which you run which show the situation across all of those homes. For more information about the 360 standard and the 360 cloud, can I recommend perhaps going to this website, which is www.360forward.com, 360fwd.com, where you can see more information about the whole principles behind the 360 forward standard, and if necessary contact 360 themselves for further information or for pricing information. Thank you for your time. I hope I've given you a taste for what could be possible with the 360 cloud. I thank you for your time, and yes, if you want more information or want to follow things up, perhaps go to the 360 Forward website and make contact. We'd love to hear from you. I'm now going to end this meeting. Thanks again for your time.